Hey, hello there. It's been a while since I made a tutorial, but I had some other projects to work on. But now I'm going to continue with making new build tutorials. I got a question from someone who wanted to know how the matrix code tool worked because he wanted to make it himself. So today we're going to dive into how to make this effect. So as you can see on my screen, I have this matrix code. It has several layers of code that is running by the camera. So it has depth, just like in the end screen and the begin screen of the movie, The Matrix. And you see that the code is changing. And also when we turn on the color, you see that they are dropping. I'm doing this with an alpha map that is falling down. So all the symbols are still here and they flip between each other, and then with the alpha I'm changing them. And if we go, let's turn off this, the text overlay. If we go into the, here you can see well that there's a lot of depth in it. You can also in the tool change the code density. So if we do this, it becomes less dense. You can turn it all the way down to maybe 60. You see there's less code. We've also some other parameters here that we will go into here. So this is the node setup. I can go over it quickly so you can easily copy it. So it's in this window we animate the elements on curve, so you get the drop down feeling. And here I'm taking the font and I'm making it change and also give it the color in a random manner. And here you have the color attributes that you have over here, so you can give it also your own color. Now it's green to white. You can make it red to whatever color you want. So if we start off, let's make this window a little bit bigger so we can see the symbols. If I make a viewer node, we can go over what this does. So this one generates the curves. If we go into this one, we see I have one curved line here, and it goes from minus 0.99 to you could say minus 0.5 to minus 0.5 or whatever. Then I'm resampling that curve, so I'm putting points on this curve, and I do that by the code density. So now it's 150 points on this curve. Then I'm setting the position by a random value, and here you see the randomness in the depth. So here you can say, if I plug this one in, you see the randomness, so it pulls it up and down. And later I'm projecting lines on this curve, so you get this depth field. So I can change it and give it more or less depth by sliding this amount. Here I'm taking this random value, minus 10 to 10. If I take that down, also this one up, you see that it gets less depth in the Z position. Now turn it back, it will look the same. What I'm doing next is I'm projecting a curve in the other direction onto this jagged line. I'm sampling it by 50 and then projecting it on these curves. So now you see the lines that I had, and set the position. I'm now putting all these lines on it in the other direction, and then you get this field of lines, and these lines are going to be used to project all the code on. So next I'm realizing the instances, and then I'm capturing the factor of the splines, so the beginning and end points, and it puts a gradient on there. That's the factor. I'm also capturing the index, but I'm not using it, I see. So I think later I'm just using index here, so this can be deleted. I can take it out. And also using a map range. and I'm using that for the line length. So I'm also you're able to change the line. Let me see what this does. If we go into the turn off the viewer node, here we can see we can change here by this one we change the colors, so I can give it more white or more green. It's actually the gradient that happens. So that's why we are capturing it here, and we are using a map range, and we use it into the from minus to max. And from minus is 0.83 and to max is 1. So next up we take all these things and then we use a sample curve node, and the sample curve node we can animate something going over a curve line. So we take the positions, or here a float, the factor of all curves, and then we use that map range in the value. And the value is coming out here, and it's going to this store named attribute, the alpha. So we are driving the alpha of the symbols. And also here, it's actually a copy. This whole section is a copy of this one, but there is a difference in the what we take away. So I'm deleting instances here, and I'm deleting the opposite instances here to get a randomness in the symbols. But first, to look at this, we are taking the index and the domain size and we divide it, and we add it and take the fraction of it. So actually we're setting the position on the curve of where the alpha needs to be. And also here there's a seam time in seconds. We add 5 and we divide it by minus 2000, and then we add both of these values together, and this is how fast it is going. So you can also change this value and then change the speed of how fast the code is changing. Then what we have here next is we have the font, so the string to curve. I'm using here all these symbols. You can also change these to be less symbols or maybe more symbols. That's why I made it a string here that you can change. And then I do fill to curve. They are now all in the middle. If I go here, set this in the middle. Now you see nothing, but they are very small. So they are 0.001, and that's because it's all kind of mixed up, the positions, and if I later scale them to 140, then they all line up more. That's why I made them a little bit smaller. Here I take the mesh that we have, or all the curves, and I'm projecting it with the instances on point, projecting all these symbols on them. And then you get, like, here you see all these tiny points, a distribution of these symbols over the lines. And here I'm scaling them up so you can see them. So that is where you need all these nodes for. Here I'm scaling instances, so you can also have a gradient from top to bottom. If we go into color, yeah, it has no color yet, but because the color is put in here, so you can't, it's all alpha right now. If I take this out, then you see I can set this scale gradient. You also have the scale factor, and it's falling also by going from big to small. That's why this switch is here. So the instances are also getting smaller. And I'm using also the factor that we took here and drive it by the sample curve. And I'm doing the same thing here. And by the switch node, you can change it from having the same size everywhere to going smaller. Then I'm storing the alpha here, and I'm using this in the material. Falling code is the material. Here I set the material, and here you can see if I switch this off, then I need this one. And then delete the instances. So I'm deleting. Here you can see clearly a line. I'm here keeping these ones, and in the opposite one I am keeping the opposite ones. And when I combine them, I'm having more of a change, more of a randomness in this line of code, which looked more like what happened in the movie. So that's how you make these lines and how to animate them with all these nodes. I'm gonna give you a good look at this so you can rebuild it yourself. And then here we have the color attributes, and I'm plugging into the code tail color and the head color, so you can change also your own colors. And then when I delete this, I go to the color mode and go to shading, and in shading here you see the alpha attribute is coming in, and I'm driving that by a color ramp. First I was using a green and white already, but then I made it into a color ramp, and I'm mixing the code tail color and the code head color. And I'm also having a wave texture, and that's why it has these lines here. You can also make them smaller if you want. That's all up to you, and this gives a little bit this matrix effect. And here I multiply with the wave texture. You can turn it off, then it's a full green color and full white color. But I like this a little bit more. When you render it a little bit blurry in Eevee, for example, then you get a great effect. And I'm using this on all the code and also the text overlay. Text overlay is same principle, just the code, and I make it. I can also go into this. It's just duplication of the text in depth and giving it the same color. And I'm also putting an attribute of the index here, and I'm using the same symbols. So the symbols are over here, the matrix code. You can get this matrix code in DaFont, for example. You can find it, it's free. You can get it on more places. And, you can also just buy this tool, and then it's already built for you. So that's how you can build this. So I hope this is clear. If you have any questions, just put them in the comments. If you need any more clarity somewhere, I can explain, and you can also just get it on Blender Market, which is Super Hive nowadays. So they changed their name. But I hope that this is useful, and I hope to see you in the next one. Okay, bye!